Again, please. How do I pronounce your last name?
Amechi.
Amechi, right?
Yep.
Hey, this is Kirnagraj from the Sparking Entrepreneur Show, and today we have Obi Amechi with us. Obi is an esteemed social architect with an impressive track record of 15 years, excelling as a coach and a respected school leader. He has consistently demonstrated his expertise in guiding and mentoring both students and adults. He has successfully collaborated with numerous organizations striving to cultivate an inclusive and equitable culture, igniting transformation and enriching their environments. Additionally, OB has personally mentored individuals in their quest for self discovery, providing tailored guidance and support during their introspective journey. Amidst this commitment, he has remained dedicated to his creative pursuit of writer as a writer, explorer, and connoisseur of beautiful minds. So, first off, let's welcome Obi and let's know about his journey. So, Obi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Karan. I really appreciate you having me on your show today.
I really appreciate your time and let's begin with your journey. So, you were telling us about the diversity and work that you have done in different fields. So, I want to know everything. We want to know everything. Tell us
Sure.
about it.
Sure, thanks. So just to go back, I feel like a lot of my experience has started with the idea that I came into my professional work working with students through mediation. And I wore many hats. So from mediation, this is while I was in college, it was an urban studies course where I went into schools and I would help students with mediation, where I'd help them set goals. So to do away with suspension, they would have the students come to me, and then I'll talk to them about setting goals in order to set them up for success. So at an early age, I really was doing that. Then it led to me wanting to learn more about how people thought. So I then went into education, just wearing many different hats. So I wore hats as being a substitute teacher, to a teacher, to an aide, a teacher's aide, to a manager of staff, like supporting staff, to then being in many leadership positions as a behavior intervention specialist and a dean of culture. So wearing these different hats, I feel like it gave me the opportunity to understand people on a diverse range. So students to adults to parents, I was able to set goals for them because I had to coach teachers, but I also had to coach parents. Had to coach parents into so let's say you had two single parents, you'd have to coach them into helping them see what their student or what their child is struggling with in order for them to help them. So they would have to come together. So setting goals for them. Through those experiences, I feel like it has taught me a lot about how people think and what they really want. And what I've realized is what people want is they want to be appreciated. They want to be seen that that they aren't just this shadow in the back, but that they are appreciated for what they do and that they're seen. And once I realized that people want to be seen, it just took a real strong effort to really pay attention to what they need and helping them get there in bite-sized chunks.
You mentioned your fashion brand. Your hoodie
Yes.
is very wonderful. I loved it.
Thank you.
Explain the design and then tell us about the fashion brand.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from Connecticut. My parents are first generation Nigerians. So my mother moved us to Connecticut. I've been there my entire life until about 8 years ago. I moved to Los Angeles, California, in order to pursue this fashion brand. And this fashion brand is about helping people realize that they are beauty by definition. That's my slogan for my brand, and the name of my brand is Amechi Asa. But part of me doing this is because it's all in the same thing of helping people be confident in who they are. And every item I have represents that. This is the knave. This represents the cheetah, the elephant,
Yeah.
the tiger. These animals are all instinctive. So they all move off of instinct. So if these animals move off the instinct, that means that they're going toward what they know is natural to them. They're focused. They have a drive. A cheetah, it's fast, but what is that speed for? The speed is to catch its prey, and it's not saying that it has an unmatchable amount of speed where it can go forever. It has to stop at some point. So it directs its attention to go to the place where it needs to go. So that focus is a reminder that the creator has created these creatures with intent. So therefore, as humans, we must have that too. It's just a matter of taking away the things that are not balancing us, the things that are noise, and focusing on what our life purpose is. And sometimes that's hard for people. But to make it easier is sometimes having a coach, having someone to help you direct, because we're that wise that we can't only be instinctual. We have so many things trying to take our attention. So it's being able to bring it back. And the elephant, of course, they're pretty wise and they have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to landmarks and where to go. And then you have if you would have an army of elephants, that wisdom, other elephants will follow one of the leaders, right? And they'll follow the oldest or the wisest one. So it also shows through instinct, they know who to follow, they know where to go. And it's with us, we also know where to go. We know where we could get our wisdom from. And lastly, we have the tiger. Tiger is very, very strong. To the point where this cat will climb up a tree, do so many different things that you wouldn't even expect. But through instinct, it's doing more things that are creative, hiding in water to catch its prey, right? So being very strategic. And these are all ways God is showing us that we have this as well. But we have to tap into really knowing who we are and silence out the noise in order to see that.
Wow, and that's a deep meaning to the shirt, because it is not just some design. It is who Obi is. It is what it
Absolutely.
represents. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about, like, please go on.
Sure, I could tell you a little bit more about my entrepreneurial journey. Moving to LA, I just knew that this would be a good place to have a foundation in the brand. When I came here, everything went well with the brand. I made a t-shirt, a unique pullover garment, and
Mm,
everything was meant to help people see that they are worth it. The hood that I made, it kind of looked like a hijab, right? But it also
mm,
looked like a hoodie that I would wear like this. So in
okay.
every culture, there's a hood garment that we have. So I created one that was meant for all cultures, so everyone could feel comfortable and no one would feel divided, because we had a lot of hoods that separated us. There was a time when if minorities would wear hoods, it would look like they were up to no good. And if a hijab, you put
Mm,
on a hood, you put on that, people would separate you from the rest of society in US because they felt something bad would happen. So I wanted to create something to say, no, these are all beautiful things, and we shouldn't see people based on what society has shown us, but see them for the beauty and why the culture is important to wear different things. So I created one to show that, but they're all one of a kind. So they all look different. So no one's going to have the same one that you have. So it brings that personality. It brings your confidence level within you. So with that being said, I did come out here and ended up focusing on um, writing a book. So I created the brand. And after I created the brand, I said, you know what? I feel like what people need right now is a little bit more guidance. And my experience, I felt like I was at a stage in my life where my experience was enough to help people at least find their way if they were challenged by finding their way through a book that can give them steps. And not only steps, but they would hear my experience and hopefully it inspired them or motivated them. So I put my brand on hold because I was being obedient. This is what I was talking about this shirt. So being able to
mm.
focus on what we know, our instincts, and that instinct is meant to come from within us, but also from our higher selves. And we can think and say, hey, what can I do right now? And what I realized is a book is what I needed to do. You may not be able to see it because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I ended up writing the book based on me knowing that people needed support. People needed to be more comfortable and vulnerable in order to get to what they wanted and where they wanted to be. And that was me being obedient by saying, hey, I'm going to put my brand on hold in order to do something that's needed right now. In the midst of me doing it, the pandemic happened. So it was perfect because it was a time for people to stay home and read and focus on themselves. So it was brilliant in the time. And now it has led to me coaching full time and also creating workshops for organizations in order to build more team cohesion and be more introspective.
Wow. As you mentioned the book, I would want to know more about the book. What does book uh, dive into, and what are the core essence of the book?
Sure. The book is called The Intentional Five: Confessions of a Disciplined Thought Verge. So Verge is the acronym. And
Mhm.
the question I usually ask people is, what are you on the verge of? Because as we can be on the verge of many different things. We could be on the verge of success next week. We could be on the
Mhm.
verge of harming ourselves. We can be on the verge of building a family. When we're on the verge of something, that means that we're almost there. We're this close. We're right there. Now, when I think about that question, what are you on the verge of? What I focus on is what is needed to get you there? Because you can be on the verge of a breakthrough, but you need something to be added, and that can come within you. That means you can do something to bring you to that fullness of where you want to be. And sometimes you're stuck there because you need somebody else to support you. You need somebody to say, hey, these steps right here, you may not see it, but if you do these things, you'll get to where you need to be. So we are always on the verge of something. We just have to choose deliberately what we want to be on the verge of and how we're going to jump into that. So that's where the book came from as far as the acronym Verge, and they represent 5 things. These are the 5 things that have got me through my experience as an educator in all those different hats that I was wearing. As I'm speaking now, it sounds like everything was perfect, but I want to be clear, Huron, that there was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of challenges, and it comes every day. The ebbs and flows. This is just how life is, and if you don't take it as this is just how life is, you may get stuck on one of those down points and never continue, right? So I challenge people to recognize that these are the things, these are my core values, and this is what I use as a framework now in my e-course of how we continue to thrive and be more purposeful. So Verge represents vulnerability, E represents experiences, R represents relationships, G represents gratitude, and the last E represents evaluation. So with those 5 things intertwined, you are meant for success. You are meant for growth. You are meant for beautiful things happening in your life. But it's being able to recognize those 5 and use them and apply them. So as I mean vulnerability, what I mean by vulnerability is that uh, most times when you hear about vulnerability, you hear that something bad might happen. Like, I don't want to be vulnerable because something bad might happen. But the truth of the matter is, vulnerability doesn't mean that something bad will happen. It says the possibility of something going wrong. If there's a possibility of something going wrong, that means there's an equal possibility that something great could happen too. So there's an equal possibility that you can do that challenging thing and you find success. But people, when they hear vulnerability, they say it's scary. But beyond that point of fear is what can be an open door for your life, right? So vulnerability is one of the keys that's important. Experiences. So it's almost like having 2 pictures. You have a picture of things that happen in your life that weren't so good. And then you have another picture of things that happen in your life that remind you of your brilliance, right? You may have had a teacher that said, oh my gosh, you're so smart. In that moment, the teacher said that, it reminds you that, wow, somebody's seen something in me. So that's a picture. And then you have a picture where your mom or maybe your aunt said, hey, you'll never amount to anything. Hurtful, right? But it's just one picture. Which picture you hold up is representative of who you'll be. Just because your mom or your aunt or somebody that you cared about said that about you doesn't mean that's your reality. That other thing that you heard someone say, that shows them that somebody's seen something heightened in you. And that's the picture we need to hold up when we walk into every room, right? That can really counter imposter syndrome. So when you remember maybe like, I actually got 3 A's at one point in my life. Hold on to that and remember that moment, and that should give you the energy to continue on. Then we have relationships. So it's thinking of everyone with respect. So one thing I say about relationships is if you can find one thing to admire about a person, then that means that there's no way that anyone can make you get off of your horse. No one can get you to get off of your horse and treat them wrong because you admire them. And that's how you form great relationships. It's the way we see people. So Kiran, you creating Sparks Media, I've never created that before, right? So that is something that I admire. Because I can admire that about you, I can respect you. And that means I can form a good relationship with you because you've done something I've never accomplished before. So now when I see you, that's the way I see you. I see you as a person that has done something I've never done before. I don't see you as a person that's, well, you know what? He cut me off earlier when I was talking. No, I hold you to the
Yeah.
highest standard. So therefore, there's no way that I can ever look at you in the wrong way. If I focus on that negative aspect of you, I'm not admiring the fact that you've done something brilliant. So that's how we look at people when we get into relationships. And gratitude. Gratitude is just going to bed with the mindset that something amazing is going to happen the next day. Because believe it or not, it always does. It may not be perfect, but when we get up, something amazing always happens. So it's always going to bed with the mindset that, you know what, when I get up, something's going to happen great. Or you can start off with, I'm thankful that I'm going to get up tomorrow and be able to see the sunrise. Something as simple as that. So gratitude is a practice, and I teach people how to practice doing that and make it part of their lives. And of course, the last one is evaluation, which is a culmination of everything. Every moment you have, being able to evaluate how you dealt with somebody, how you spoke to someone, how you are speaking to yourself. So taking that time to think about, how am I showing up? And I think we don't do that as much because we often go outside and we see other people. How much time do we spend in the mirror? How much time do we get seeing ourselves? Very little, right? So we don't get an opportunity to see ourselves more than we see other people. So all of their energy comes onto us, right? So now we're acting as if we are everyone else around us. So we don't know how to say what is for me and what is for these people. So it's important that we evaluate ourselves as regularly as we can in order to remember who we are and show up in our best versions.
And how long did it take for you to come up with words? Because that seems like a lifetime of work to come up with something like that.
Karen, thank you for saying. I mean, it. Now that you say that, I didn't realize how. To me, it was a short time, but now you saying that, it seems like it would have been a lifetime, and I think it is. It's part of how I live my life. But it took me about, I'd say, once I was writing the book, the name came after. So as I was writing, the name started coming. So it took me about, I'd say, 6 months to fully know what the acronym would be.
Wow. So that's really amazing. And thank you so much for putting in the work, because now we know what words actually stands for.
Yes.
Thank you for the acronym. Next question. So tell us about your clients. Who are your clients? What are they struggling with? When should they reach out?
Yeah. So I have clients that are struggling. They're struggling with a few different things. So I think what I focus more so is those clients that are struggling with trying to heal from walking in their brilliance or walking in their confidence. So there's this way of people pleasing or afraid to step into who they are. So I have clients that are struggling with that. These are usually leaders. So I work with leaders in school organizations, nonprofits, really looking to get into entertainment. Entertainment, just because I know that those leaders, they have a lot on their plate as well, and they have to deal with it alone. So my experience as a leader is I had to learn all of these things, pretty much figuring it out on my own. But now that I have the experience, I don't want to see leaders do that on their own. What I would like to do is always show them that they have somebody to partner with. So my clients are usually focused on being a fearless leader and also having the confidence to make decisions that aren't based on the status quo, but they're making decisions that are going to move their company forward, aligned to the mission that they represent, and not moving away from that. But doing it in a way that's empathetic and understanding and caring, where your team is also being productive, but also building them up as people as well.